Welcome again, and now we'll start with the carbohydrate metabolism. And I still believe that while dealing with metabolism, it's better to consolidate two or three or four or maybe all the important cycles together so that we may get an overall picture about the whole metabolism, like what it is exactly going on in the body. Because initially during our first read or maybe during our UG studies, when we go with the topics, you know that we don't easily get that whole picture of the metabolism of what exactly is happening in the body. But when but what how it has to be understood is that we should have a whole picture regarding the metabolism. For that, we should be doing all the multiple cycles together on a single stretch. But I don't think so that in case of an revision, we just have to have a good pace of the basics, and then we will move to that final step of the whole metabolism, which I will be doing in the later videos. But the most important part of the carbohydrate metabolism can be divided into three or maybe four parts. The first thing being that the glycolysis, but I always do glycolysis along with the gluconeogenesis because it is interlinked, and only three enzymes are different between the two cycles. And it is better to correlate this glycolysis and gluconeogenesis, or maybe gluconeogenesis with the glycolysis always. And the second part being that do that link reaction and the TCA cycle together. And then the third part being that do that electron transport chain and that shuttle part. And the last part, you can have that under that HMP pathway and glucose galactose metabolism, like that you can have. And before that, it's better to do that gluconeogenesis section and glycogen metabolism together. Okay, these are the 4 or 5 parts by which you have to understand the topics initially, and then you can go with the whole stretch of the topic. Once you have the idea about the 5 subtopics, you are eligible to understand whatever question like in whatever way it is integrated and asked. You will be in a position to at least eliminate options and understand the topics, and then you can choose the correct option out there. Okay, so let's get started. So carbohydrate metabolism, Embden may have a pathway, major and minor pathway. So what is the mean? What I try to say by the major and minor pathway is the glucose can be metabolized in two different pathways. Major pathway is the glucose metabolism. When compared to the HMP, hexose monophosphate pathway is the minor pathway for the glucose oxidation, and two phases are there in the glycolysis: energy investment and energy production. So in energy investment phase, there are two irreversible steps. In both the irreversible steps, two ATPs are used. Okay, so glucose 6-phosphate is just the cramming information. I am just running through it. Phase 1, energy investment phase. Glucose 6-phosphate. Glucose is converted into glucose 6-phosphate by hexokinase or glucokinase, and glucose 6-phosphate is isomerase. Okay, glucose and fructose are isomerase. So fructose 6-phosphate. So fructose 6-phosphate, this glucose to glucose 6-phosphate is an irreversible thing. So that is the first irreversible reaction, and 1 ATP is being used there. Glucokinase is the enzyme, and then from there we get about glucose 6-phosphate. From glucose 6-phosphate, it is isomerated to fructose 6-phosphate. It is a reversible step, so no issues being here. And fructose 6-phosphate is then converted into fructose 1,6 bisphosphate. Okay, so 1,6 bisphosphate, and two phosphate bonds are being attached in the first and sixth position. So we have to add, this is second irreversible step of the phase 1, and we will be adding one more ATP here, and the second ATP is being used here. That's it. These are the two key sections and two irreversible sections, and this is two phosphorylated, and two ATPs are being used here. And now we are done with the end. We are with the product fructose 1,6 bisphosphate. This fructose 1,6 bisphosphate has to be lighted or maybe broken down into dihydroacetone phosphate or maybe glycerolaldehyde 3-phosphate. Two molecules are being it is giving into two molecules of each. Okay, and then the cycle enters into the phase 2. And yes, this enzyme is the aldolase A enzyme. This aldolase A enzyme is important for the breaking of fructose 1,6 phosphate to glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate and dihydroxyacetone phosphate. Then what I have said by the question mark 2 is the enzyme here used here is the aldolase type A. Okay, aldolase type A is being used here. So okay, then where is aldolase type B is used? Aldolase type B comes in the fructose metabolism, where the substrate is the fructose 6 phosphate. Okay, yes, fructose 6 phosphate, the substrate. Here the substrate is 1,6 bisphosphate, that is A. Okay, A for 1 you can just cram it that way, and phase 2 is the energy producing step. So now we are done with the DHAP and glyceraldehyde 3 phosphate. This glyceraldehyde 3 phosphate is converted into 1,3 bisphosphoglycerate 1,3 bisphosphoglycerate by the glyceraldehyde 3 phosphate dehydrogenase. This enzyme glyceraldehyde 3 phosphate dehydrogenase. This is a reversible thing, but I am just having it in a different color to say that this enzyme it's a different enzyme because we are adding phosphate without utilization of any ATP here, but we are adding phosphate group. That is the only one peculiar or maybe a characteristic thing involving this glyceraldehyde 3 phosphate dehydrogenase. Okay, it's an oxidative phosphorylation reaction. Yes, accepted. It is adding a phosphate group to the compound. Yes, very much accepted. This NADH produced is transferred to the electron transport chain, and from where we get 5 ATP. It is also accepted. But one thing is it is unconventional here is the addition of the phosphate group without utilizing ATP. That is the thing key here, and we just remember that we have entered into the energy producing phase. Okay, we just remember that, and then 1,3 bisphosphate to the 3 phosphoglycerate, and this enzyme is also an reversible enzyme, PG kinase, phosphoglycerate kinase. It's a substrate level phosphorylation reaction. So 1 ATP is being produced here, and here we have 5, here we have 2. Okay, and then to the 3 phosphoglycerate, and then to the 2 phosphoglycerate, and then to the phosphoenol pyruvate, and the phosphoenol pyruvate is lastly converted into pyruvate by the pyruvate kinase enzyme. Okay, this is the one irreversible step I mentioned here. Okay, this is the only one irreversible step in the energy producing phase, and here we are getting 2 ATPs, 2 more ATPs here. So 5 plus 2 plus 2 equals 9. Okay, I just have to make this clear here, and this pyruvate can enter into the anaerobic cycle for the generation of the 2-lactate under anaerobic condition in presence of lactate dehydrogenase. It utilizes 2 NADH to 2 NAD. Okay, or this pyruvate can enter into other cycles like to the link reaction first, and then through that it enters into the TCA cycle, and by byproducts of the TCA cycle it enters into the electron transport chain. Okay, and thus this whole thing is over, and it is better to consolidate here this 2 plus 1, 3 irreversible steps. So 3 irreversible steps being here. One second. Okay, the 3 irreversible steps being here. Okay, the three irreversible steps being here are the hexokinase, first step of the glycolysis. It's an irreversible step, and then phosphofructokinase. Okay, phosphofructokinase, which converts the fructose 6 phosphate to the fructose 1,6 bisphosphate. That is also an irreversible step, and the last reaction, first and last, and the intermediate between the phase 1 and phase 2, and the last step is the pyruvate kinase. These are the 3 irreversible or maybe the regulatory steps here. And substrate level phosphorylation occurs in the phosphoglycerate kinase and pyruvate kinase mechanisms, and all kinases except phosphoglycerate kinase are irreversible or regulatory step, but PG kinase, it's not an irreversible step, it's a reversible step. Okay, that is a peculiar thing about the phosphoglycerate kinase, and because of this reason, or maybe this difference, it is being repeatedly asked and one of the hotspot topics in case of examinations. And also pyruvate kinase has both irreversible and also an substrate level phosphorylation enzyme. So another thing about pyruvate kinase is that pyruvate kinase K. So K for potassium, so it requires potassium more. It is, and also the second most common human enzyme deficiency. First most common being the G6PD deficiency. So okay, so what exactly happens in case of this enzyme deficiency is that the pyruvate kinase deficiency. So we saw that the pyruvate kinase is one of the important enzyme in case of utilization of the glucose. So, and also it forms the Okay, and also we saw that it is an irreversible step, and we no way we can able to produce the product from the substrate without this enzyme. So pyruvate kinase deficiency, there is no glycolysis. It's an irreversible reaction. Low ATPs, which causes NAD, sodium potassium ATPase pump is being inhibited, and it causes hemolysis. So in pyruvate kinase deficiency, there is hemolysis. Okay, in G6PD deficiency, also the most common enzyme deficiency disease, which is produced in the HMP pathway, it also serves as an main reservoir for the production of NADH, okay, NADPH. So the NADPH, the main three main sources in the NADPH in the human body are the HMP pathway, malic enzyme pathway, and alpha ketoglutarate thing. So in G6PD deficiency, there is a decreased reservoir of maybe decreased production of NADPH, which results in the decreased amount of the reduced glutathione, which normally this reduced glutathione, it lyses the H2O2 to H2O and O2, and but when the reduced glutathione is deficient, H2O2 is not removed, and because of that reason free radical generation is accelerated, and which causes the cell membrane lysis of the RBC and causes hemolysis. And distinguishing between pyruvate kinase deficiency and G6PD deficiency is that presence of Heinz bodies is present in the G6PD deficiency. And coming to the bioenergetics, as I have said earlier, discussing the pathway. So initially, in case of pyruvate, hexokinase step, 2 ATP is being ATP, one molecule of ATP is being utilized, and also in fructose 6-phosphate, it is also an irreversible step, so 2 ATPs are being used there. And yes, only there's energy investment, 2 ATPs are being used there, but in case of G3PD, glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate dehydrogenase enzyme, we are producing 2 NADH without without using any ATP. So it produces 5 plus ATPs, 5 more ATPs is being produced, and also it produces this 1,3 bisphosphate to 3-phosphoglycerate produces 2 ATP by the PG kinase, and also phosphoenol pyruvate to pyruvate by the pyruvate kinase produces 2 ATP. So 5 plus 4 plus 4 already I said as 9. So 9 minus 2, it is equal to 7. In aerobic conditions, 7 ATPs are being produced here. But in case of anaerobic condition, that a major chunk of the 5 ATPs is not produced, that we get from the G3PD deficiency, glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate dehydrogenase deficiency. We don't, it's not the deficiency part, it's because that ETC, for the ETC to occur, oxygen is being needed, so it's not being utilized. Instead, that NADH is being utilized in production of the lactate, okay. And in this lactate, this NADH is converted into NAD, and this NAD is coupled to again join with that phase 2 reaction, first reaction of the phase 2, that is the G3PD reaction, so that it can keep the glycolysis on and on and on, and it won't stop. When the supply of NADH by the lactate is inhibited, the glycolysis stops, because glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate is the first step in the energy producing phase of the glycolysis. So that is an important emphasis here. So that is the reason why and also in the production of the lactate, there is no energy is being produced or maybe depleted. So it's just an moving of the NADH molecule to the G3PD enzyme stuff. So we have already we have invested invested in the energy investment phase. Already we have invested 2 ATPs, and then 4 ATPs are being produced on the whole. So totally it's 2 ATPs is being produced in case of an this thing AD. Totally 2 ATPs is being produced in case of anaerobic conditions. Okay. And it is important to note that in RBCs, number of ATPs formed irrespective of the condition, whether the cell is in fed, fasting, or starvation, or maybe aerobic, whatever may be the chunk of the question the examiner is going to ask, just say it is 2 ATP. As there is no mitochondrion, irrespective of the aerobic or the anaerobic, even if oxygen is present or absent in hyperbaric temperature or maybe the hypercapnic temperature, whatever may be the thing the examiner is going to ask, just say it as 2 ATP. and the dead end product of the glycolysis is the lactate. So what happens to this lactate? So this lactate has to be utilized in a way so that it can be the system is manipulated to produce more and more substrate from the lactate, which in turn results in the production of intermediates, which can be utilized by the electron transport chain to produce more and more ATPs. Okay, so what happens is the two different cycles happens, or in fact three. I will just come back to the RL shunt later. First, discussing about the Cori cycle is the glucose lactate cycle. The name says it all. Cori glucose lactate. So what happens from the lactate? NADH is utilized to produce NAD pyruvate in presence of a lactate dehydrogenase, and this pyruvate can be converted to glucose by the process of the gluconeogenesis, and this glucogenesis can be given to the muscle in work, and glycolysis occurs and 2-pyruvate is produced, and an anaerobic conditions lactate is produced, and here the NADH is utilized to the NAD, and this lactate is being again transmitted to the liver, and this cycle is called as the Cori cycle. And the same thing when it happens in case of an alanine. Alanine is also the most what can I say, it is the most glucogenic amino acid ever. So I'll just have it as under red. It is the most glucogenic amino acid. So this alanine, in case of AST enzyme, an amine group is removed and pyruvate is generated, and this pyruvate can be converted into glucose by the process of gluconeogenesis, and this glucose can be given to the muscle again. And in muscles also, the pyruvate so produced from the glucose by utilizing the glucose by the process of glycolysis, by the addition of an amine group, it forms a alanine. This alanine is again shuttled back to the liver for gluconeogenesis, and alanine, as I said earlier, it is the most glucogenic amino acid. Okay, so then coming to the RL shunt, or maybe the Rappaport-Lewis shunt. So why is this different? This is different because it occurs only in the RBC cell. Okay, it occurs only in the RBC cell. So why? So in RL shunt, one substrate level phosphorylation 1,3 bisphosphoglycerate to 3-phosphoglycerate in glycolysis, which usually doesn't occur here. So what is the loss? What is the loss we incur because of this shunt is while converting the glucose to 1,3 bisphosphoglycerate, in the energy investment phase we use 2 ATPs. Okay, in the step 1, that is the hexokinase phase, and in the phosphofructokinase phase, we use 2 ATPs there. So 2 ATPs already being invested in case of the energy investment phase, and then this 1,3 bisphosphoglycerate, it was the first step in the energy producing phase. This 1,3 bisphosphoglycerate should be converted to pyruvate. Okay, that is the ultimate aim we get, but I have already said that this PG kinase enzyme produces by the acting upon 1,3 bisphosphoglycerate, it produces 3-phosphoglycerate, 2-phosphoglycerate, phosphoenol pyruvate. That series of reaction is being initiated by the PG kinase, that is being inhibited here. Okay, in RL shunt, that is being inhibited here. So what is the loss? Because it produces 2 ATPs. PG kinase produces 2 ATPs from 1,3 bisphosphoglycerate to 3-phospho 1, glycerol phosphoglycerate. 1,3 bisphosphoglycerate, 3-phosphoglycerate, 2 ATPs are being produced here. That is the loss we incur here, as a result of which this 1,3 bisphosphoglycerate is being shunted. Okay, is being shunted to produce 2,3 bisphosphoglycerate, and from the 2,3 bisphosphoglycerate, 3-phosphoglycerate is produced, and from the 3-phosphoglycerate we get 2 molecules of pyruvate. So this production of leave that NADH part, which produces the 5 ATPs there, and also the second 2 ATP molecules that is being used, or maybe the second part of production is the PG kinase enzyme, and the last is the pyruvate kinase enzyme. So the pyruvate kinase enzyme also, and last part is the pyruvate kinase enzyme. Okay, it produces 2 ATPs. So the major chunk, that NADH from the 5, we lost that, and PG kinase, it produces 2, we lose that, and we just got only the pyruvate kinase enzyme that produces 2, but already we have invested 2, so 2 minus 2 is 0. So then ATP, this is a tricky question here, like ATP formed in RL shunt, so formed or maybe produced in RL shunt is 2. or maybe the net is 0. So it's always better to choose 0 in case of 2, but when 0 is not given, it's better to go to 2. Okay, and then what is the significance of the 2,3 bisphosphoglycerate is that this 2,3 bisphosphoglycerate, it binds to the beta globin, so it will not affect any other hemoglobin. Okay, but in this thing, in fetal hemoglobin HbF, it will not be affected as it is made of gamma globin. Okay, so alpha and gamma chains are there, no beta chain is there, so already it won't take any oxygen left from the hemoglobin, but instead in maybe the neonates or maybe in that intrauterine life of the fetus, the release of oxygen is not desired. Instead, it needs to absorb oxygen from the mother's blood. So this 2,3 bisphosphoglycerate is being used there. So okay, when what is the fate of the glucose entering into the RBC? 90% of the glucose is being enter into the RL shunt for the production it enters into the normal glycolysis for the production of the 2 ATPs. Why it is 2 ATPs here? Because the NADH so produced, it cannot be, it is not shunted back to the no mitochondria in RBC, so 2 NADH is not converted to 5 ATP. So that is the thing. Instead, that NADH is utilized for the production of the lactate in an environment. So that 5 usually goes away, and this already we have invested 2 is being produced, and 5 is gone, and second phase produces another, that PG kinase produces 2 and pyruvate kinase produces 2. NADH no utilization, already we have invested 2 minus 2, no 5, so only 2. So net effect is the 2 ATPs are being produced in the normal glycolysis entering into the cell, whereas in case of the 10% glucose which enters into the RL shunt, only no ATPs or maybe no ATPs is being produced here, and it also provides 2,3 bisphosphoglycerate. Okay, and coming to the other inhibitors being that, just cram it. Okay, no significance except of arsenate. Iodoacetate, it inhibits the G3PD. G3PD, I said that energy producing phase, first enzyme, that is the thing. No phosphate is needed, but instead it produces 2 NADH molecules which enters into the electron transport chain. It produces 5 ATPs. Okay, so it inhibits this thing. So while stopping this thing, glycolysis stops. I already said that this is one of the prime step, and supply of NAD is very much necessary, and pyruvate is not found and no ATP is produced. But the same enzyme is being inhibited by the arsenate. In this case, the glycolysis continues and the pyruvate is formed, but no ATP is produced. The reason being that this arsenate it inhibits the NAD to NADH conversion, and because of that reason no ATP is produced. Instead, arsenate combines with G3P, glycerol 3 phosphate, to produce 1-arsino-3-phosphate, and this 1-arsino-3-phosphate, it undergoes spontaneous hydrolysis and the arsenic moves away, and it produces 3-phosphoglycerate, and this 3-phosphoglycerate it forms the pyruvate, and as a result of which no ATP is being produced here. Okay, as a result of which no ATP is being produced, as we have surpassed the steps of glycerol 3-phosphate dehydrogenase step and phosphate dehydrogenase step, and as a result of which we have no 5 ATP, no 2 ATP, only 2 ATP in case of pyruvate kinase step, and that 2 is already being utilized in the energy investment phase. 2 minus 2 is equal to 0. So in case of arsenic poisoning, there is 0 ATP is being there. Whereas under normal condition, I have already said that the G3PD enzyme, it produces NADH5, and PG kinase it produces 2, pyruvate kinase produces 2, but hexokinase it utilizes 1, and phosphofructose kinase it utilizes 1. So ultimately equating, we will get normal condition, glycolysis produces 7 ATPs. So arsenic also inhibits PDH, pyruvate dihydrogenase enzyme of the link reaction, and alpha ketoglutarate of the TCA cycle. It also inhibits that. And this enolase enzyme, it's a lyase enzyme, and sodium fluoride inhibits enolase. I will remember at enolase E. So A, B, C, D, E, and F for fluoride. So sodium fluoride is the compound being used. Clinical significance being that it is used in the blood sample collection vial. If sodium fluoride is not added to the blood sample, glucose can be lost due to the glycolysis, leading to an underestimated value. So in that case, it makes that clinically very much significant. And then oxamate inhibits the lactose dehydrogenase. It is necessary in case of anaerobic glycolysis and also in RBC glucose metabolism. So glycolysis occurs in the cytoplasm, whereas link reaction TCA, electrotransport occurs in the mitochondria. This electrotransport mitochondria is deficient in RBCs, as a result of which it is always only lactate hydrogenase lactate dehydrogenase comes into play and lactate is being produced. Okay, and this is the summing up of the glycolysis. I have just managed to I would have said it in a shorter way, but I don't think it would have made sense, so it just took me 25 minutes. And then entering into the gluconeogenesis, it's a smaller thing, just don't worry, we will just finish it in another 5 to 7 minutes. Okay, so gluconeogenesis also, what is the necessity? And glycolysis occurs in case of the fed state, gluconeogenesis occurs in the fasting state, just remember that. And also fed state, so it is being activated by the insulin and it is being inhibited by the glucagon. That, what is that? Glycolysis. But gluconeogenesis, it is being inhibited by the, what is that? It is being inhibited by, not inhibited, it is inactive. Insulin doesn't have an effect over gluconeogenesis, whereas glucagon has an effect over gluconeogenesis. Gluconeogenesis is activated by glucagon. So glucagon forms the prime enzyme. So not only glucagon, any enzymes, like it can be thyroxine, it can be any steroidal enzymes, or it can be epinephrine, norepinephrine, any enzymes. Okay. And then in fed state, the insulin activates the PDH complex. So pyruvate is converted into acetyl-CoA and it is shuttled to the fat synthesis. Whereas in fasting state, we don't need that fat to be synthesized. We just need oxidation of the fatty acids to produce ATP. So in that case, the beta oxidation of the fatty acid occurs and acetyl-CoA is produced. This formed acetyl-CoA inhibits the PDH complex and in turn it increases the amount of pyruvate. This pyruvate is then entered into the activates the first step of the gluconeogenesis, as a result of which we can say acetyl-CoA is never glucogenic, but it can activate, or maybe the indirect activator of the first step of the gluconeogenesis. It's an important MCQ and highlighter here. And this pyruvate so formed, it's in presence of pyruvate carboxylase, it forms oxaloacetate. This reaction, it's a complex reaction, so occurs in both the mitochondria and cytoplasm. Any pathway occurring both in mitochondria and cytoplasm will start from the mitochondria itself, and then the organ is obviously it is liver and kidney. And as I said, as it occurs in fasting state, enzyme will be active in the phosphorylated state, so all of which enzyme will be activated with the glucagon inhibited by the insulin. And the next thing is the rule of 2. So what is the rule of 2? Gluconeogenesis, 2 organs, kidney, liver, 2 situations: lack of food, fasting, starvation, 2 compartments, mitochondria and cytoplasm. That is the rule of 2 here. It will come in handy in case of exam solving the MCQs. And gluconeogenesis is not a reversal of glycogenesis, because I already said that the 3 irreversible steps are there. What are the steps? Try to remember. It is the hexokinase step and phosphofructokinase step and the pyruvate kinase step. 2 steps in the what is that, energy investment phase, where the 2 ATP is being produced, and 1 step in case of energy producing phase, where 2 ATPs is being produced there. Okay, 2 invested, 2 went away, so it goes to nil. And already we have that NADH which produces 5 ATP and this PG kinase which produces 2 ATP. Okay, just to making it to 7 ATPs from the aerobic glycolysis. Okay, and these reactions has to be bypassed. These 3 reversible reaction has to be bypassed by the 3 enzymes. So that makes the comparative study between the glycolysis and the glucogenation, and this is the reason why I always try to do that glycolysis and the gluconeogenesis together. So first step I said that the pyruvate kinase. So pyruvate going from below upwards. Okay. Okay, pyruvate kinase. So pyruvate kinase is we have to jump to where we have to jump to the phosphoenol pyruvate. Okay, so phosphoenol pyruvate, because that was the starting step in the phase 2 reaction. So this phosphoenol pyruvate can be synthesized from the pyruvate by, it is an irreversible step. Yes, accepted. So pyruvate carboxylase. So by the presence of the pyruvate carboxylase, this pyruvate is converted into oxaloacetate. Whenever a carboxylase comes into play, ATP is being used here. So 1 ATP is being used here. Okay, point number 1. And point number 2, this oxaloacetate so produced is converted into malate. Okay, that is an irreversible reaction. Malate dehydrogenase enzyme, NADH is used. This malate is then made to enter into the cytoplasm. Remember, this is not a malate shuttle. Okay, it is being used here. In malate shuttle, ATP has to be produced. Okay, but here ATP is being utilized. NADH is used. Okay, so malate comes out. So malate is then converted into oxaloacetate. This oxaloacetate is then in presence by utilizing GTP and in presence of phosphoenol pyruvate carboxykinase. Okay, so first two enzymes being pyruvate carboxylase for conversion of pyruvate to the oxaloacetate, and second for the oxaloacetate to the phosphoenol pyruvate by the PEPCK enzyme, phosphoenol pyruvate carboxykinase. So this utilizes GTP, and we got the phosphoenol pyruvate. Okay, so this phosphoenol pyruvate has to be converted to the last step, that is the fructose 1,6 bisphosphate. So one important step being here, that is the PG kinase. PG kinase, there it produced the 2 ATPs. Okay, or maybe it produced ATP for one molecule. Here when dealing with one molecule, it is one molecule of ATP is going to be utilized, as we are going in the reverse direction. So PG kinase utilizes one ATP, and then phosphofructokinase. Okay, then this fructose 1,6 bisphosphate and the fructose 1,6 bisphosphatase enzyme. Okay, fructose 1,6 bisphosphatase, because phosphofructokinase is also an the irreversible reaction. So we have to convert this fructose 1,6 bisphosphate so formed by the PG kinase action on phosphoenol pyruvate to produce fructose 6-phosphate. This fructose 6-phosphate isomerated to glucose 6-phosphate, no issues, reversible reaction, and this glucose 6-phosphate has to be converted into glucose. Glucose 6-phosphatase is the enzyme here. It is the last step. Okay, it is the last step, and it replaces the hexokinase step of the normal glucolysis. As a result of which there is no ATP is being utilized in case of this glucokinase enzyme activity, that is the G6 phosphatase enzyme, or maybe the no ATP is being utilized or maybe invested in case of fructose 1,6 bisphosphate activity. So the net bioenergetics being that, where is the bioenergetics? Next, net bioenergetics being that one ATP is being used for pyruvate kinase and one GTP is being used for PEPCK, phosphoenol pyruvate carboxykinase, and one ATP is being used for PG kinase. Okay, 2 ATPs, 1 GTP. Okay, and we usually deal with 2 pyruvate. Okay, so it produces 4 ATPs is being utilized and 2 GTPs are being utilized here. So this is the net bioenergetics of this cycle, and it produces glucose from this thing. And the just coming it again, this glycolysis and gluconeogenesis, I will just say it is like a pyruvate kinase. We just surpass the pyruvate kinase step by pyruvate carboxylase with the utilization of 1 ATP, phosphoenol pyruvate carboxykinase by utilization of 1 GTP, phosphofructokinase is being bypassed by fructose 1,6 bisphosphate, and hexokinase is being bypassed by the fructose glucose 6-phosphate. And one extra information you need to learn here is the fructose 1,6 bisphosphatase, fructophosphokinase, this thing, and PG kinase. It's a regular enzyme, it's a reversible enzyme, but it is a headache and it utilizes 1 ATP. Okay, so then what is the significance of this irreversible step? Because when glucose enters into the cell, it has to be transformed into it undergoes an irreversible step, that is glycerol 3-phosphate or maybe glucose 6-phosphate, so that it is not shuttled back into the blood. Okay, so because of this reason only it produces an irreversible step, first step. And also in the last step is the irreversible thing. It is also because of the same reason, because the pyruvate, after investing so much energy, we have just produced the pyruvate, and the cell doesn't want the pyruvate to enter into a reversible reaction. Because of that reason only last step is also an irreversible step. It acts as a gate. So transport channel T1 okay, and then coming to the transporter, just remember T1, T2, T3. For T1, for entering into the G6 glucose 6-phosphate into the endoplasmic reticulum, and T2 for the exit of glucose from the endoplasmic reticulum, T3 for the exit of the phosphate. And all these transporters are active in this state, fasting state only. Substrates, just 2L tip 13. I will just come here, just remember it as 2L tip 13. Important substrate is the glucogenic amino acid, and glycerol, propionic acid, products of fatty acid metabolism can form glucose, and pyruvate, lactate, everything can form glucose. It is mostly 3-carbon compound. Okay, and any TCA intermediate can form an oxaloacetate, so which can enter into the gluconeogenesis. So coming to this section, 2L tip and 13. So what does it signify? So what does it signify means 2L, leucine and lysine. Okay, so leucine and lysine, it is the ketogenic amino acid, TIP. Okay, so this is the both glucogenic and ketogenic amino acid. So tyrosine, tryptophan, threonine, T, isoleucine I, P for phenylalanine, tip. So these both ketogenic, glucogenic, only ketogenic, this is glucogenic, rest are glucogenic, and most glucogenic is the alanine. So total ketogenic is 5 plus 2, 7. Total glucogenic is 5 plus 13, 18. Okay, in that way we have just covered this thing. And lactate and alanine. Okay, so lactate is and alanine is also known of the substrate for gluconeogenesis, as we have discussed here. So what is the difference here? There is no difference. Whatever happens to the glucose happens here too. The alanine is converted into glucose, and from there alanine is converted into pyruvate, and from there the pyruvate is being utilized for the production of glucose by the process of gluconeogenesis. Lactate, in the presence of lactate dehydrogenase, it's in 0 ATP reaction, it produces pyruvate, and from the pyruvate it enters into the gluconeogenesis. So it is the same 6 ATP, same 6 high energy phosphate is used in total in case of glucose, lactose and alanine. So by this way we have just completed the gluconeogenesis and glycolysis. It's one of the major and complicated pathway, and I have just tried to give yourself in an more simplified way, but I have just tried to cover the important points too, because I felt it was important on the long run. We should be knowing this few steps, or maybe the important steps. This aldolase A point is important, this energy producing this thing. Many students get I also used to, during my UG days I got so much confused between these two steps, 2 irreversible steps and 2 ATPs. This is an important thing here. And energy investment phase, energy producing phase, and this enzyme, you know, this it's a big headache. Whenever it comes, it always takes a part of the brain. PG kinase and pyruvate kinase. We also tend to confuse between these two enzymes, and G3PD here, not G6PD. And aldolase examiner used to ask give in case of A, he used to give B. Just remember that aldolase B comes in fructose metabolism. And then coming to the co-recycloglucolactate, name itself explains. Glucosalanine, name itself explains. RL shunt, RBCs, inhibitors, arsenic, I just explained what happens, 0 ATP, and then fed and fasting state, rule of 2, glycolysis, gluconeogenesis. Just see that enzyme, what are all the enzyme is not being used, and also our headache partner PG kinase. Okay, and then bioenergetics, lactate and alanine, and this 12 tip 13, it come in handy during solving questions. And by this way we have just completed this important section, glycolysis and gluconeogenesis. Okay, thank you.